I want to welcome everybody to our Saturday morning webinar. My name is Judy Feldhausen, and my co-host today is Bob Wischmeier.
Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here.
Yeah, this is wonderful. This is really a subject that really speaks to us here in Synergy. And so today we are going to talk about leaving a legacy. And this is the final chapter of John Maxwell's book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And an interesting chapter that that he's talking about, and it so relates to who we are at Synergy, because as most of you know who are members of our Synergy team, that is our motto. Synergy's motto is to leave a legacy. And what you see here actually is a picture of some of the employees actually working at a mission that they were helping out. And so the company really is not just using the words leave a legacy, but they really talk about it a lot, and they put action into the words. And so for me, it's so great to be involved in a company that sees the bigger picture and sees the future and what we can do with ourselves, not only professionally, which of course is important, but with personally too. And so, as always, for our leadership series for the past 21 months, we are going to be following John Maxwell's book, but we are following it in a way that really applies to our lives, the lives of Synergy, and specifically the lives of Bob and Judy. So you're going to hear some stories and some things that really help us portray how we want to leave a legacy, how we want to be leaders, and how it can relate, hopefully, to your life too.
Well, that's exactly right, Judy. I was going to make that same comment before you did, that we really, when we do these leadership trainings, we have to adjust them accordingly. We always speak from the pulpit of memory, our own experiences, and so hence this particular slide. I was thinking it was Memorial Day just a few days ago, and I was thinking about the law of legacy, and then I thought about Memorial Day and the thoughts that we have of our loved ones. And John Maxwell makes a very interesting comment. He says, what do you want or hope people say at your funeral? How do you want to be remembered? I put this picture, this slide in here. This is at the little cemetery right by my home. In fact, you can't see my house, but it's to the left and back a little bit. This is on the ridge where Bonnie and I, where we have our farm. And this is my father on the left and my grandfather on the right. And when I had an opportunity to order these headstones, it was a bit of a challenge. One of my sons helped me get the headstones, but I wanted to put them up. And so I had the blessing of actually setting the headstones there at the cemetery. I received them. They came in on a truck, and I had a chance to meet with the guy that ran the cemetery, and we set those things up. But I thought of the legacy that my family has said, and the legacy that I hope to send. You see these are both military headstones. My youngest son, Spud, is in the military. He's in captain's school right now. His next duty station is at Schofield Barracks in Hawaii, so he's leaving for Hawaii shortly. But a leader's lasting value really is measured by succession. How's our life reflected? In the lives of our children, our grandchildren, our business. And as I thought about leaving a legacy, my first thoughts, the first thoughts that I had were with respect to my children and my family. It's just kind of the way that I'm wired. And I thought about something Eleanor Roosevelt said a long time. She said, life is like a parachute jump. You've got to get it right the first time. It made me smile when I read that. And I thought, well, what if that's the case? I hope I got it right. I've talked to the kids about this before. And when my daughter Jessica left to go off to college, and I'd gone down to visit with her, and as I was leaving her, that after that very first visit, she was giving me a big hug, and I said, Jess, did we teach you enough before we sent you out into the world? Did we teach you enough stuff to get by? And I'll never forget, she said, yeah, you did that, but you didn't teach me about being homesick. Sweetest things ever. But I thought, well, what if I had a sentence, my life sentence, this legacy that I want to leave, what would it be? And the first thoughts that came to my mind weren't in relationship to my business, but with my family. And that I want to be a great father, a great husband. I want to be the best Christian. So we kind of come back to John Maxwell's start with why. Why do we do the things that we do? So that's what I wanted to share here with this slide, Judy, if you want to scoot along to the next slide.
If I
Did
can.
we lose you, Judy? Are you
No,
still...
if I can. Sometimes it doesn't always work.
Yeah, there you go.
And you know, and that's so true. It is so personal, and so often I think we get caught up on today and even regrets about what we didn't do yesterday. But really, you know, very few of us really look at the long view, the idea of being, what are we going to leave for the future, not just do for the future. And there's a big distinction there. You know, John Maxwell says that his life sentence is, I want to add value to leaders who will multiply value to others. And really, that's what we do in Synergy, isn't it? When we not only sell the product, but when we recruit people into the business, we're passing on our belief in the product and our belief that we can help other people become better in their health, better in their finances, you know, really better in their life. So I believe that we have a responsibility when we are, as a member of Synergy, to really pay it forward and to look at what can I do to help others have what I have and be able to give what I give. And so as you are listening to this webinar, and as you are going about your day, really think about this long view on how you can add value to other people in the future, because it not only sets direction for your life, it also, you know, determines the legacy you are going to leave. And we want to really decide what road we're going to take. This is actually a picture that I took in Wyoming last summer, and when I was on this road, I just was looking at it and seeing the vision of where I was going. And you know, it's such a beautiful picture, but it's such a wonderful message to look at where we are and what we are going to do in the future.
Yeah. It's, you know, when I first saw this picture, I wondered if wasn't where, we've been through Wyoming lots of times, and I think so often that most people just simply accept their lives, if you will. They don't lead them with purpose, but you just go through life. Like, I know that's how it was with my parents. You know, they just lived from day to day. And, anyway, So I wanted to say something too with regard to this whole long view. And that is that I think that first of all, if we have a leadership position with Synergy Worldwide, or if we're just in our own personal lives, that we need to become, if you will, highly intentional about our legacy. In other words, we know what it is we want to do, why we want to do the things we want to do, but we need to be intentional about that. We need to know the legacy that you want to leave. If it's with your family, there are things you do. You know how, you know what. But why are you doing it? Well, you're doing it because it's in your heart and it's in your soul. I read a really interesting thing. Grenville Kleiser, who I don't know, but Grenville wrote a book called Author of Training for Power and Leadership. But it was an interesting thing that from the book, it says your life is like a book. The title pages, your name, the preface, your introduction to the world. The pages are a daily record of your efforts, trials, pleasures, discouragements, and achievements. Day by day, your thoughts and acts are being inscribed in your book of life. Hour by hour, the record is being made that must stand for all time. Once the word finis must be written, let it be said of your book that it is a record of noble purpose, general service, and work well done. I thought it was a cool quote, and I think that someday people are going to summarize your life just with a single sentence. And, you know, out of my shop here at the farm, in my shop, I've got a little sign that says, attitude is everything, pick a good one. John Maxwell says that his advice with regard to the life sentence we choose for ourselves is pick it now, choose it now, and live what you say you believe. Be a product of the product we talk about in our company, that you must become what you desire to see in others. And so it puts that onus back on ourselves. You know, stand a little taller, stand up for what we believe in, and move forward accordingly. So that when that day comes, when there's that little headstone at the cemetery and people look and see your name there, what are they going to say about you? What is it? What legacy will you have left? And I think it's important for us to remember that the long view of what we're doing, both in our personal lives, in our business, our relationships, etc. Judy.
Absolutely. And so, so when we're looking at that, we want to really know that we are doing today what we need to do for success tomorrow. We really have to pay that price today. And, you know, it's a matter of, are we willing to pay that price? And in a network marketing company, really team leadership is so important over individual leadership. And you know, we are so lucky in our organization that we have a tight group of members, that we welcome everyone into our group, that we really value the team, no matter whether they're in my downline, Bob's downline, or someone's downline that we don't even know, that are not even in our organization, that it's the team that's important to make the bigger picture and to pass on what our beliefs are. And I thought it was interesting when John Maxwell talked about walking away from an organization. And I don't know what your history of network marketing is, but I've been with several different network marketing companies and have known many people as a coach. I coach a lot of people in network marketing in companies that I had never heard of before. And I think this piece about walking away with integrity is so important. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. In other network marketing companies, people steal downlines and badmouth the organizations that they used to be in. I don't see that here at Synergy. If someone walks away, they walk away with integrity. And that's one of the things that I am very proud of for being in this in this organization.
Yeah, Judy, thank you so much. As you were sharing that, I was thinking about how in our company, in Synergy Worldwide, regardless of where you enter into the business, you have the potential to become more successful than your sponsor. That's a remarkable thing about Synergy Worldwide and the compensation plan that we have. That no matter where you come into the organization, if you work hard, you can be successful. And we need to value team leadership above individual leadership. When you sponsor someone, then you are responsible for them and to help them. And a little thought to you guys that I think is extremely important with respect to team leadership, and that is that if there's something that goes on in your organization or the company that you're not happy about, that's not the kind of thing that you want to share with those people who are in your downline. That's the kind of thing that you want to talk to your sponsor about or go up with. You know, there's a struggle, you see a struggle, you get a hold of corporate, something like that, and express your concern. But if you do that with your downline, it adds a negative connotation to the downline. It doesn't bear fruit. It's not good. And so just keep that in mind, that when you become a team member, a distributor, and you want to build a network marketing business, a home-based business of your own, you need to, first of all, remember to train your people, you know, use your leadership, train your people, and and always remember that if there's a struggle with something, go up with that struggle. I think that's important. You know, legacy lives on in people, you know, not in things. I think that's important. We put a lot of energy into our organization, into lifeless objects, if you will, but only people live on when we're gone, right? Everything else is temporary. Anyway.
That is so, so true.
Yeah.
And really few leaders do pass it on. You know, a lot. So many people are so involved in their own lives and their own daily disciplines that passing the torch, just, you know, it's not on a radar screen. And we put our energy into the organization, into systems, and just objects. But what is left after we leave are the people in our organization. Really, everything else is temporary. So that legacy that we create is when we put our organizations into the positions to do great things without us at the head. You know, what would your organization be like if you weren't there on a day-to-day basis? We really have to make sure we pass the baton. You know, it reminds me of a story that John Maxwell talked about, the chairman and chief executive of the Coca-Cola company back many, many years ago. I think he started in 1981. His name was Roberto Goizueta, and he started with Coca-Cola, and it was a $4 billion company. I mean, that's huge. He actually made a statement at a meeting once, and he said that 1 billion hours ago, human life appeared on Earth. 1 billion minutes ago, Christianity emerged. 1 billion seconds ago, the Beatles performed on the Ed Sullivan Show. And 1 billion Coca-Colas ago was yesterday morning.
Wow.
So isn't that amazing? That and that was back in 1981. By the time he left the company, unfortunately, he died unexpectedly. But when he left the company in 1997, the company was valued at $150 billion.
Wow.
That's a 3,500% increase from his time of leadership. And now I looked up what Coca-Cola is worth. It's now worth the equivalent of $188 billion.
Good grief.
Isn't that amazing? And he was all about legacy. He said, which I thought was really interesting, leadership is one of the things you cannot delegate. You either exercise it or you abdicate it. Isn't that interesting? And there's also a third choice, though. You pass it on to your successor. And that's really a choice that that Mr. Goizeta really exercised. He passed it on. And even though he died unexpectedly, the company did not suffer from his lack of leadership because he had the torch.
Yeah, it's awesome. What a great story. You know, I was thinking as you were sharing that, you know, Dan Hammer is on the webinar with us this morning, and Dan hasn't contributed a thing to help the Coca-Cola company move forward. So I wanted to share a thought too with regard to this. Judy, I have a great love in my heart for Mother Teresa, and I've spoken about her on these calls before. I just loved her. Everything about her. And, you know, as you are all aware, she died a few years ago, and she's interred in like a mausoleum. I think it's in India where she is. Anyway, John Maxwell and his organization made a trip there one time, a leadership trip. They were there, and they wanted to go into the room where she is interred. And when they got there to go into that room, one of the sisters from the convent said, "Well, you can't really go in there just now. We're having a meeting." And they, you know, the question was, "Well, what's going on?" And she said, "Well, we have 45 new members being introduced to the order today, in the same room where Mother Teresa is interred." The point being that in spite of the fact that she is no longer with us, in spite of the fact that she's lived and died, there were still on that particular day 45 new people coming forward in that organization, dedicating their lives to that work. That's leadership, passing it on, right? That's that forward movement and leaving a legacy that we're talking about here. That when we're gone, and I think every distributor in this company hopes that someone who they have sponsored will do even better than they have done. We hope for that. We hope that every distributor will end up being as successful and forward thinking as Dan Hammer is, for example. Wouldn't you want to have Dan Hammer in your downline? Wouldn't you want to have sponsored Dan? Dane Orge sponsored Diane Levitt. How would that be, you know? Looking back, how would that be? And so that's one of the most remarkable things about our company is that if we will take the time to work hard and help our team members, they can be way more successful even than we have been. I think it's awesome, Judy.
I totally agree. And so really leaving a legacy is so important, not only in our businesses, but also in our lives. And, you know, I know that one of my whys for leaving a legacy is also for my children and grandchildren. And as a living legacy, I work every day to make sure that what I do, how I say things, the way I act, my children and grandchildren will look at that in the future when I'm gone and say, I want to be like that. I want to live my life on the high road and be able to do things and have the gut spa or whatever that my grandmother had. So when things go rough and when things go well, that, you know, she always took the high road. And so I think to leave a legacy, we also have to live the legacy. We just can't pass it on. We have to carry the torch ourselves, so that it's well lit when it goes forward.
That's well said. You know, when my oldest son, Gabriel, graduated from Performing Arts School in New York, he attended the American Musical and Dramatic Academy of Manhattan, graduated from there. Bonnie and I took my whole family and we went to New York and spent a week there. Donald, we had a great time there, saw the Lion King on Broadway and all of those kinds of things. And right after graduation, Gabe was picked up by a company that was doing a national tour, doing a play, musical, and he immediately went on a national tour to do this play. And I got a call from him one day, and when they did this tour, they went in you know, like in vans, and they pulled all our equipment in little trailers behind them, that kind of a thing. And so all of the people involved were responsible for helping to set up, take down, load up the trailers, all that kind of stuff as they went from venue to venue. Gabe called me and said, "Dad, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for teaching me the value of hard work." He said, "There are a whole bunch of kids doing this national tour that don't do anything to help, but," and then he went on to talk about that a little bit, and I won't get into that. But the point being that one of the things that I wanted to do as a father, and Bonnie also as a mother, was to teach our children the value of hard work. That was one of the legacies that we wanted to leave. And it's awesome when you look back on your life and you can see in the lives of others that legacy that you've left. It's a big deal. So thanks, Judy.
It is a big deal. It is a big deal. And so actually, this concludes the book for the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. So we are at the end of this leadership series, and what John says his conclusion is that everything rises and falls on leadership, and everything is on the left determines everything on the right. So the personnel we have determine the potential you have in the organization. The relationships that you foster creates morale. The structure of your organization is determined by the size, and the vision that we have as leaders. We have that vision to determine the direction, and our personal leadership will determine the success of our organization. So whether your upline is not supporting you, or a shipment gets lost in transition, or corporate does something that we are unhappy about, it's our personal leadership that will determine our personal success. We can't rely on what others do to determine our success. That's our own responsibility.
I really appreciate that thought too. You know, Dan Hammer one time said that if your sponsor isn't exactly who you wish he would have been, isn't maybe helping you as much as you'd like him to, or whatever, get over it. And I really appreciated that, Dan, because it really puts things into perspective that really, ultimately, your success is going to be determined by what you do, how hard you work. If your sponsor isn't really helping you, look somewhere else, find someone else to do it. And I think one of the cool things about our entire organization is that we do help one another, whether we're part of the same downline or not. We've reached out for one another. Some of the work that Dan has done has just been off the charts because people use his stuff all over the world. And so I think that really is it really just shows what good leadership is all about. And I've enjoyed the last 21 months of this particular book. I hope everyone on the call has. Judy and I are going to do some other things going forward starting in the month of July. We want to continue a leadership development series, and we'll move forward with some other things. But I guess at this point, Judy, are there any questions or comments anybody wants to chime in? Just unmute your phone or your computer and jump on in.
Bob and Judy, Donald, I think, is there. Go ahead, Donald.
I'm sorry, Daniel, go ahead.
So Bob and Judy, I had a call from a client this week. His name is Flaky Wilson. I've talked about him in the past, and he reordered, and we talk about leaving a legacy. Well, part of the things that we've done in terms of leaving a legacy from a business standpoint is you have to market. So marketing is letting people know what you're doing. And when you do that, you begin to build the potential for developing a legacy. So our marketing strategy is all about nitric oxide therapy. And Bob, one of the things that you talked about in your presentation is that once we die, we pass it on through people. Well, you can also pass it on through videos. And so Flaky Wilson, I don't know him, he found one of my videos online, and he responded to the message on nitric oxide therapy because he had been sent home to die and given just months to live. So I've got his worksheet in front of me, and he originally called me on February 12th of 2013. So we're now into June of 2019. So for over 6 years, he's been using nitric oxide therapy with our product of choice, ProRegen Plus, and he's lived a healthy, productive life. He's not dead. He didn't become a burden to his family. He didn't become a drain to the medical community. He didn't become a drain to the insurance industry. He became a person who applied nitric oxide therapy, given months to live, and now has been 6 years since that time living a productive life on his farm, invested in his family and church, and helping to make a difference in the people that are part of his life. And that's the beauty of helping people understand one of our marketing strategies, which is nitric oxide therapy, and the kind of legacy that we can leave for individuals who decide to apply that to themselves personally, and what it can do to empower their health, improve their vascular system, and allow them to be what they want to be in relationship to their family and friends and the things that they feel are important in their lives. So I just thought I would share that.
Yeah, there's no question. The videos that you've created really have lasting value, and they'll be there for a very, very long time. And that whole story with Flaky, I remember when you first started talking about Flaky, 6 years ago. That's an awesome story. What a great legacy you have there.
Yeah, and he's just one of many.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
I can think of Sid Milch up in Flint, Michigan. I can think of the fellow up in Canada. I mean, there's just so many people that we've been able, and just not me. I'm talking about people in Synergy worldwide, the differences that we've made by helping them understand nitric oxide therapy. If you choose the microbiome, how, the legacy that you can set for people and helping them reset their gut health so that they can address autoimmune diseases and weight management issues and just all those different things that are tied to having a good gut that functions properly. We just have the opportunity through the products that we have in Synergy Worldwide to bless people's lives with better health.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Donald, did you have a thought?
Yes, thank you, Dan. What a great testimony. And my thought is to thank you and Judy for providing us with this information. I didn't read the book myself, but once it got started, I got into the book, and the stories and the leadership that you have shown in on the days that you are doing this webinar, and I want to thank both of you for doing it. I just want to say, as we add Bob, that this week I was immersed in the Normandy World War II, and I saw that your dad, he was in the military, and I'm not sure if he'd seen any combat, but that was some story. I logged on to the BBC to follow a lot of it, and I just want to commend you for the leadership that your family shows in serving the country.
Oh, thank you, Donald. Yeah, my dad was actually at Pearl Harbor. My dad joined the Navy in 1940, and he was at Pearl Harbor when it was bombed. And he stayed in the military. He was in the Pacific. He was an air radioman on bombers and stayed in the military until 46, so 6 years through the entire World War II. And my grandpa was joined the Army in, it was 1917, right at the conclusion of World War I. Interesting stuff. My stepfather was a frogman, underwater demolition. They're the Navy SEALs today, but he was basically a Navy SEAL during the end of World War II and all through the Korean War. And then he was in Vietnam as well. My stepdad was. He fought in 3 conflicts. So a lot of history in our family.
So he was still in 1944, June 6th. So, but he just didn't get over to the channel.
Yeah, my dad was in the Pacific through the whole war.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hi there. Hello there, Timothy.
Hi, Timothy.
Hi, Timothy.
I'd like to join with Donald and concur with thanking Dan for all the good work he does. Thank you two good people for dissecting that book for all of us. And then for you, Bob, thanking for you and your parents serving the country. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, Timothy.
Thank
very
you,
kind.
Timothy.
Well, we'll let everybody know what we're going to be doing going forward. Judy and I have been looking at one of Les Brown's books, that Laws of Success, a really cool book. We may use that going forward. If there's a particular leadership book or something you'd like us to take a look at, let us know, and we'll go from there. But Judy and I are looking forward to continuing this throughout the balance of the year and into the future. So Judy, thank you, sweetheart. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate your leadership.
No, thanks.
I just want to say that Les Brown is one of my favorite authors, so that's going to be good. So look forward to that.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good.
And
Judy, anything else?
I have nothing else unless anybody else has any other questions before we close for today. Okay, well then I guess we are finished.
Finished. Thanks, Judy. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. You have a great week, and we'll see you here next Saturday.